Okay, folks. So, it occurred to me that it might be a good thing for anybody that was looking to install Dorico on Linux. Might be a good thing to have a instruction video where the instructions are in the video, um, or to have instructions with an accompanying video, rather. Um, so I figured I'd go ahead and redo my previous video and narrate it, and hopefully that'll be a lot more convenient than what was there before. So we're just going to walk through this together then. Couple preliminaries. I'm doing this on Manjaro GNOME, um, which is Arch-based, so this should work just fine on Arch. Um, I do believe this will work on Debian-based things, Ubuntu, Pop, Mint. The installation of Wine will be slightly different, but it shouldn't be too hard, and you can look that up, or you can ask me if you need any assistance with that one step. I haven't tried other things like I don't know, Fedora or RHEL or anything like that, but yeah. So for the most part, it should be pretty cross-compatible. The only real difference between the different distros would be installing Wine and the Wine helpers. Everything else is inside Wine. All right, so that's that. One thing to mention is that you will need to have Note Performer, at least to follow this guide. I have not been able to figure out precisely why I can't get Halion installed properly, but I figure that Note Performer is nice and small and light, so it's probably better for performance anyways. I'm not sure. So we'll be using that, and the only other thing is that you'll need a spare license to get this going. So either grab a Dorico SE license or grab a Dorico Pro 30-day free trial, and either one will work just fine. All right, so that's all the preliminaries. So let's get into this. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to download the installation files. I have not been able to get the Steinberg download assistant working through Wine, so we have to do this manually. So you're going to go ahead and Google something along the lines of Dorico 3.5 updates and downloads, and that will take you to this page. And the two things you're going to want to grab are the application installer and the sounds installer. And I'm not going to download them now because it will take quite a while. I've actually already downloaded them, so we will just pretend that I have gone ahead and downloaded them. So that's, again, the application installer and the sounds installer. And while we've got a browser open, there's one more thing that we're going to grab. And that is the eLicenser control installation helper. And you should find yourself a help page about missing soft eLicenser, and that's why we're grabbing this, because when you install the eLicenser control center through Wine, the soft eLicenser shows up missing. So we're going to grab this little program, and it's going to fix that for us. Now you need the XP Vista version. The other one does not run. I'm not quite sure why, so you're going to download that one as well. I've already downloaded that. Okay, so then once you're done with that, you can go ahead and put it all in a nice organized little folder, and I've done so already. So you should have something like this. You'd have your Dorico installer, your eLicenser installation helper, your Halion sounds, and note performer. Then you're going to go ahead and unzip your sounds, and I've gone ahead and already done that. So I clicked extract here, and I've got this. So we should have everything that we need to get going here. All right. So next thing to do is to install Wine. So we're going to open up a terminal, and we're going to tell it sudo pacman sy, and we want Wine, we want Wine tricks, and we want play on Linux. Now, I don't think it matters precisely which provider you use for Netcat. I don't even know what Netcat is, but we're just going to go with the default. That's GNU Netcat. I'm sure they're basically the same. Yes, indeed. We would like to proceed with the installation. You can either type in a Y and press enter, or because the Y is uppercase, that means it's the default. So you can just go ahead and press enter. And this will install those 3 programs for us. Alrighty. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and close this. And we're going to run play on Linux. Do you want to help play on Linux to make a compatibility database? So, you know, a lot of people don't like telemetry, but I think it's a good thing. So normally I would say yes to this, but I'm actually on a virtual machine right now, so I'm going to go ahead and say no. And so here we have play on Linux. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up a Wine prefix. And so to do that, we're going to go to Configure, I'm going to click on New. I'm just going to walk through this little prompt here. We want a 64-bit Wine prefix. Now, I think because of the dark theme on the system, you don't see anything here. I think there is actually one item here, and I think it should be Wine version 6.15. But either way, we should be able to click Next. All right, so we're going to name our virtual drive Dorico. It doesn't matter what you name it, but I think it's easiest to just call it Dorico. Click Next, and it is creating a Wine prefix for us. And it's going to, so Wine Mono is a kind of open source alternative that Wine uses to the .NET frameworks. We actually need to install the .NET frameworks for Dorico. So I'm pretty sure we don't need to install this, but I just usually tell it yes anyways, because I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm pretty sure it gets uninstalled when we install the .NET, so it's not a big deal. But right, and notice oh, it's gone. I was going to say notice the path name to the Wine prefix, because we'll need that in a minute, but we can look it up in a second. That's funny. Could have sworn I clicked on 64-bit. Let's see. Oh, okay, great. I don't know what that was all about, but so now we have a prefix opened. We've got a prefix created, and the first thing that we're going to do is we need to extract all these smaller installation files from the bigger installation files. So in our little Dorico installer right here, this exe, normally if you were on Windows you could just run it and it would install all of Dorico just fine. Everything would be great. But on Linux it doesn't quite do that. It's got a bunch of smaller installers inside of it, and what it will do on Linux is that it will extract them like it's supposed to, and then it will just not run them. So we need to extract them and then run them ourselves. So we're going to run an exe file in this virtual drive. So we've got our line prefix selected. We click on miscellaneous. We're going to run an exe, and we're going to go to our folder here, and we're going to click on this. And we're going to pause the extraction at a certain point, and I'll explain that in a second, but we're just going to go ahead and click run. All right, we're going to pause it right before it gets to the end. Okay, perfect. So now what we can do is we can open up another file explorer, and we are going to go to the location of those files that it was just extracting. So we're going to open up our wine prefix, and this is our fake C drive, and the temporary folder that it's extracting to should be in our user folder, and it's right here called temp, and then within that it's rar sfx0 then Dorico, and here we go. These are the two things we want. So we're going to go ahead and move those over to our little installation folder. I don't know what this ID thing is. I don't think we need it. Well, I know we don't need it, but let's see. Yeah, who knows? All right, great. So we can go ahead and close this. We can continue this. That finishes up. All right, so now we've got, instead of this Dorico installer, we've got Dorico 3.5 MSI and a bunch of additional content. And inside the additional content, we've got things like the eLicenser installer and ASIO driver installer and a couple other things that we're going to install by hand. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to Play on Linux, and we are going to install a program. We're going to tell it to install a non-listed program because Play on Linux doesn't know how to install Dorico, but we do. So first time you run Play on Linux, it's going to give you a couple warnings. This one just says, don't ever let the installer launch the program right away. If it asks you to reboot, you can do that, but don't ever start it up right away. So I don't need to see that again. And also, Play on Linux and Wine are not the same team, so if you've got problems with one, don't go to the other. That's fine. Okay, we're just going to step through the prompt again. We're going to edit or update an existing application. All that means is that we're going to be installing something on the wine prefix that we've already set up. So, and that's the Dorico prefix here. And we are going to install some libraries. And it's going to be 64-bit installation. Okay, so we want three things here. We want POL install core fonts. Find it. Here we go. Now that's your Windows fonts, so Times New Roman, Arial, that kind of stuff. We want font smooth. Font smooth RGB. Now this is what lets Dorico render fonts in between pixels. So when you're zoomed very far out of a score, the note heads and the clefs and the accidentals and all that stuff, those are fonts, whereas like the staff lines and the stems and that kind of stuff, those are lines that are generated by Dorico itself. And for them to line up properly, you need to be able to render the fonts in between pixels. Otherwise, everything would be horribly misaligned and it's gross. So that's what that is. And then, last but not least, we need install VC Run 2019. So we got those three things. We're going to click Next. Microsoft fonts aren't installed. I'll install them for you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So I think this is actually just trying to show me the font license agreement for Microsoft's fonts, but it's accidentally, it's a little glitchy here, so I'm just going to agree and move on. So this will take a minute or two and we'll just let it chug away. Maybe I'll speed this up and see you in a moment. Okay, now here is where we can install a program. So we are going to grab the installation file for Dorico that we have unzipped manually ourselves. That's Dorico 3.5.msi. And we're going to click Next. And in a moment, you should see something very familiar. Oh, well, okay, that's new. Never quite seen it like that before, but it's what's on the inside that counts. So we're going to click Install. That's much better. All right, we accept the license agreement. Yep, create a shortcut on the desktop and install. And finish. So this is where we can tell it what shortcuts we want to make. Now normally this would make a shortcut on your desktop and in the Play on Linux menu. I actually have desktop icons disabled right now, so I don't think anything will show up here. I suppose I have a, do I have a desktop? Yeah, I've got a desktop folder in my, so yeah, it's going to create one here, but it won't actually show up on the wallpaper itself. So just keep that in mind depending on what desktop environment you're running. All right, so click Next. I like a space here, and click Next. This is just the name for our shortcut. It doesn't actually matter what it is. And then it's going to ask if we want to create any more shortcuts, and right now we do not, so we are good. So there we go. Dorico is now installed. It's just a matter of getting all the rest of its stuff installed too. And you know, if it weren't for the eLicenser Control Center, I think this would actually run just fine right now. There wouldn't be any sound, but all right. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to install another library that is necessary for the eLicenser Control Center. Now, I would have installed this one using Play on Linux, but it's actually, it won't install in Play on Linux. You have to use Winetricks for this one, so that's why we've installed that. So what we're going to do is we are going to say wine prefix equals /home /net play on. No, Linux is case sensitive, so you gotta get all this correct. Play on Linux /wine prefix /Dorico. Now that's the name of the wine prefix itself. Space wine tricks. So this is the name of the program that we're running. So this all is just telling it where to run this program. So this is the address that we're operating in. This is the program, and then we are going to tell the program to force. And so you can either do -F, or I think you can do dash force, but -F will do just fine. .NET 48. So that's going to install the Microsoft Windows .NET Framework 4.8. Let me just make sure that we've got the line prefix set correctly. So I'm going to go home, show hidden files. That's Control H, by the way. .play on Linux, line prefix, Dorico. Okay, and I would like the path. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not used to Nautilus, so I don't actually know how to get the precise path, but I'm pretty sure I put it in correctly. So we're just gonna run that. Well, you know what we can do? We can select this. We're gonna copy something instead of just Control-C. In a terminal, you usually have to do Control-Shift-C. So copy this, and we're going to put in a. Oh, well, no, it's Nautilus. What are you doing to me? Making me look silly in front of my friends. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Is this even Nautilus? It's just files. Files, you're making me look silly. All right. Oh yeah, I guess we could open in a terminal. And we can cd to this directory and say ls. And it looks like that's our wine prefix. So I do indeed have that typed correctly. Great. So we're going to go ahead and run this now. Little excursion there, tangent. Okay. So you just click enter and it should go ahead and chug along through the installation of the .NET framework. Now, during the course of this installation, it's going to bring up two smaller installation windows. One of them is going to be the 4.0, .NET 4.0, and the other one's going to be .NET 4.8. We're trying to install .NET 4.8, but it makes you install both of them. And I suppose I should mention the reason we needed that little force tag is because Winetricks, which is slightly better than Play on Linux in this regard, Play on Linux just straight up won't install this framework. Winetricks thinks that it's broken, so it normally will not let you install it unless you force it. But it will at least install it, if you ask ever so nicely. So yeah, all right, great. So this, you can just tell it you've read and accept the terms. You do not want to send your information to Microsoft, I hope. And we'll just go ahead and speed this up a little bit. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and click on Finish, and it's going to chug a little bit more through some things, and in a moment it should bring up another installation window for .NET 4.8. See that in just a second here. Okay, and same as before, we're just going to click Continue. We have read and accept the license terms. And once again, I may go ahead and speed through this here. Alrighty, excellent. Go ahead and click Finish here. You can tell it, sure, restart now. Right, so that should be good and installed. We can go ahead and close that terminal window. And now we should be able to install the eLicenser Control Center. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing as before, install a non-listed program. I'm going to tell it next, edit word update. Now I don't think it actually makes a difference. I think you should be able to click just on the program, and that would mean that you're installing in this virtual drive. So just, I think you could do either one, but whichever one's closest to click on, I suppose. So we're going to click Next. We've already done all the libraries we need. I don't think we need to configure anything, and the version of one we're using is fine, so we're just going to keep going. 64-bit, and now we want to find the eLicenser installer file. That's in the additional content copy protection driver and the eLicenser control setup. Click Next. Actually, I do believe that the current version, oh, look at that, how nice and familiar. So we're going to click Next. I do believe that the current version is a higher number than this, so after we're done, we can go ahead and update it. We'll do that in a second. Yes, we accept. And please install. Okay, we're going to create a shortcut. Yep, that's fine, but we will not start it. And same as before, it's just going to ask us what shortcuts we want to make, and then we'll be done. And we're going to do the same thing for one or two more programs after this. We want a shortcut for the eLicenser Control Center, and we'll go ahead and call it the eLicenser Control Center. I usually just leave it on ELCC, but I'm feeling fancy. Okay, next. We don't need to do any more. Now let's go ahead and get this updated to the most current version while we're here. So we're going to go ahead and click Run on that, and it should. Oh, lovely. Okay. We do not need to see this every time we start up. And we don't need to perform maintenance tasks. I suppose we could go ahead and do that right now, but I don't think we actually need to, so we're just going to click Cancel. We're going to go to Help, and we're going to download the latest version. Sometimes you should actually be able to install the latest version off of the website, but every once in a while, the website is sometimes lagging behind what's actually the most current version. It's usually correct, but I'm not always sure about that, so I just usually update it from here. So we're going to go ahead and save that, and that's done downloading. Oh, okay, great, done downloading. So we're going to go ahead and close this. We don't need to do a whole install with all the shortcuts and everything the way we did, so we're just going to go back to Configure, Miscellaneous, Run an exe file, and this is our newly downloaded eLicenser control setup. So we're just going to run that in this drive, and it will install over top of our current eLicenser, just like any normal Windows program. Okay, yeah, great. So we've got 6.12.7.1294. And once again, we're just going to step through it like normal. And now we don't need to create a shortcut, but we'll just tell it to anyways. It doesn't make a difference. All right, so now you'll notice, and I mentioned before, that when we run the eLicenser Control Center, there is no soft license. I don't know exactly why that is, but it's just part of the way it installs through Wine. It does not create a soft licenser, but we did download that nifty little program that will fix that for us. So once again, we're going to run an exe in this, prefix here, and I'm going to go right here. It's the eLicenser installation helper. And like I said, it has to be the XP Vista version. The other one won't run. I don't know exactly why, but so we'll click on that. It will once again bring up a little window any second now. There we go. And what it's going to tell us is that you'll notice this version is earlier than the version that we're currently running. So when we click Next, it's going to say a more recent version of the eLicenser software is already installed, therefore installation is not necessary and is skipped. I'm just going to click Next and Finish. Now, the thing though is that we didn't actually need it to install. All we needed it to do was fix our current install, and merely running it seems to do that, because you'll notice there is now a soft eLicenser, and this soft eLicenser should work just fine. In fact, I will show you. We can run our maintenance updates, maintenance tasks rather. They do take a second or two on Linux. It seems it's been a while since I've run them on Windows, so I don't actually know, but I feel like it takes a little bit here. Oh, that's not too bad. All right, great. Yep, everything looks good. Okay. Now, I mentioned having this turned off. If you have it turned on, sometimes it tries to tell you that there are problems with your soft licenser. Um, and if you try to perform maintenance tasks, it doesn't seem to be able to fix those problems. Um, but if you have it turned off, and when you start up, it does for a second look like maybe there's a problem with the soft licenser, but it clears itself up within like half a second or so. So and then everything is just fine. So I don't know why the I guess like having that window pop up before like anything else gets a chance to run, it makes it so that it's not going to let you fix it or something. I don't know exactly what's going on, but you can just turn it off and you'll be good to go. So we've got a soft licenser on here. We don't have a license on here yet, but we'll put one on after we're done installing everything when we're ready to run Dorico. But it's just nice to see that this runs just fine on here, or mostly just fine. All right, so we can go ahead and close that. We can close this, and we are going to install a couple more things. Edit. (64-bit). Browse. All right. Downloads. Dorico. So I think the next thing that we want to install is going to be the SEO driver. Okay, so there are three more things, well, four more things, but three more things that we need to install. We need to install the SEO driver, this library manager, and Halion. So let's go in that order. Click install, accept the terms, and we'll go ahead and click finish on that. Now, this is not something that I think you actually need a shortcut for. I'll show you this window in a second here, and you'll recognize it. I'm pretty sure we don't need this shortcut, but you know, better safe than sorry. I figure it's better to have it and not need it than the other way around, so I go ahead and install it. And yeah, like I said, you should recognize this. So we'll get back to that in a second, though. Right. Next thing to install is next. 64-bit. Next thing to install is the library manager. Now, I don't know if we actually need this. I've been trying to figure out exactly how to get Halion installed properly on here. I imagine that what's going on is that the installer is not copying over the sound files to the proper directories, and the library manager, I imagine all that it does is provides some sort of directory structure for the different libraries. So since Halion is not actually getting installed properly, I don't know if we need this, but maybe at some point, if I figure out Halion, then I would need this, so let me just go ahead and install it anyways. And yeah, we'll go ahead and create a shortcut on the desktop for that too. Yeah. I don't want to make another shortcut. Okay, and last thing of the core Dorico installers that we need to install is the Halion. Halion. We need to install Halion. And you'll have to excuse my cat in the back. She's having a little field day with the blinds right now. So if you can hear that, it's not me. All right, and the installer for Halion should be right here, Halion Sonic SE.msi. And now, I think maybe the reason things are not going correctly is because maybe I don't need Halion Sonic SE. Maybe Halion Sonic SE is the one that goes with Dorico SE. I'm not exactly sure. But I think that it might have some of the like engine files that we need for Dorico to run properly. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and install, because I haven't been able to find a different file that installs things correctly. So this is what we're going with for now. And yes, anyone that uses this computer, though there's only one user on this computer, and this computer technically is just a fake C drive, but okay. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, see, that seems to install way too fast to actually have like put anything anywhere. So I don't know exactly what's up, but maybe at some point I can figure it out. I'm sure that it could just be as simple as moving all of the sound files from one directory to another. Now this one we don't need a shortcut for, because I don't know if it makes, I don't know if it's got an exe associated with it. I suppose it probably does, but anyways. Alrighty, last but not least, that is the main Dorico program. The last thing we're going to install is Note Performer. That is right here. Yes, if there are any notation. I agree. We do not need it for Sibelius or Finale. Click Next, click Install. All right, click Next, Finish. Now it's going to tell you it crashed when it installed that, but I think it's incorrect. Everything should just be fine. Sometimes Play on Linux thinks things have crashed based on how they close, and I think it just doesn't like the way Note Performer closes. I'm not exactly sure, but it's fine. So we're going to go ahead and say we don't need a shortcut for that. Alright, let me look at my little list here and see if there's anything else we need to do. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to add a license. And we are going to just do this You're probably sitting there thinking, don't show your key to everybody, but this is not my key. This is just a 30-day trial key, and it is a one-time use. You will not be able to use it after you get see Dorico Pro 3.5 trial. Once I activate it, this key will no longer be of use to anyone besides me for 30 days. So it's fine that you see it. Okay, I'm going to download the license to the soft licenser here. License download successful. Close. And we're going to start the usage period. And you can hit close. And there you have it. There is a soft licenser with a Dorico Pro 3.5 trial on the licenser. You could, if you wanted to, put your actual license on here. I'm sure it could be just fine. I don't know if I trust that quite yet. I want to try it a little bit longer with trial license or an SE license to see that everything works just fine and it's not going to eat my license. Now, I know that my license is registered with Steinberg, so if there was like actually a major problem, we could get everything sorted out, but it's just a headache that I don't want to have to deal with. So right now I'm just using these little guys, and but everything seems fine. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run Dorico. One little weird quirk of Dorico Online is that you have to manually run the eLicenser Control Center yourself when you want to run Dorico. So normally Dorico would just communicate with the software in the background, and it wouldn't even need to open it up to run, but for some reason we need to run it manually. So you gotta have this open. So we're gonna go ahead and click on Dorico 3.5. And did I click on it? Yes, I did. So thank you for trying Dorico. Currently using a trial license, we are going to continue the trial. And would you look at that? It's a lovely little Dorico splash screen running on Linux. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this since it keeps flashing with stuff. And I'll go ahead and minimize this too. And there you have it. There is our Steinberg Hub. So we're going to do a few things in here before we start up any documents. We're going to go to Device Setup, and we are going to go to the Device Control Panel and tell Dorico not to monopolize the sound card. And so now you will see we have an output port. And we'll go ahead and click OK. And leave it on 44.1. Click Close. What happens if we bring this back up? Huh. Okay, well, I'm gonna close the hub for a minute. I just want to make sure that this pops up with our actual output before we go any further. Let's see what happens. Yeah, and like I said, Play on Linux sometimes thinks things closed incorrectly, and it will tell you that they crashed even though they did not. That is something that happens every time you close Dorico, or at least the hub, which opens back up every time you close Dorico. So just be aware of that. It's actually fine. Continue trial. All right. Now I saw it list Pulse Audio down there in the little text, so I think we're good. Let's see here. Device setup. There we go. That is an audio device. All right. What is next? Okay, we're gonna set the default playback template to be Note Performer since we don't have anything else installed properly. So we're gonna click Apply there. I'm gonna close this. And that should be it. Let's go ahead and open a project. See what happens. This project was created in an earlier version. Yep, that's fine. Oh, one thing to mention is that opening projects takes a little bit longer on Linux. I'm not sure exactly what the holdup is, but I think it's just kind of part of the fact that the performance on Linux is not quite as good. So every document that it opens, it kind of hangs at 60, it kind of hangs a little bit at 80, usually not as long at 80, sometimes a little bit at 90, and if it's a really big file, sometimes it'll even hang at like 10. But and I guess when I say hang, I don't actually mean hang. It'll go eventually, but it does sit there for a second or two. But I promise it will open, and we will be able to use our dear sweet Dorico in just a moment. Okay, so now when you open up a document, it's gonna give you a few extra windows. It's gonna tell you, especially if it's a document that uses like Halion or something like that, it's gonna tell you it can't find certain files. Though, yeah, I'm not sure about this one. It's gonna tell you it can't find certain files, and it's gonna bring up this reverb window. Yeah. Halion Sonic SE. Some audio files are missing. So, yeah, don't know exactly where those are or where they're supposed to be, rather. I guess I know where they are. I don't know where they go. But you can just click close on that. And yeah, I don't know what this is all about, but it brings it up every time you open a new document or open an old document. But you can just go ahead and click close, and there you have it. There is Dorico. I'm going to go ahead and finish the tour here. Now, performance, like I said, it's not like terrible. It's not great, but it's probably not so great right now. I'm on a virtual machine, so it runs quite a bit better than this on the same computer that I'm on right now. This is kind of how it runs on my laptop, which is not the greatest machine. Yeah. Well, I guess if we want to hear anything, we got to go ahead and turn on. Yes. Finish tour. We're in Halion right now, but let's go ahead and turn on Note Performer. There we go. Apply and close. Go back to write mode. Let's take a sec. There we go. And once this turns green, we should have audio. I didn't see a Note Performer splash screen though. But there it is. And there you have it. And there's our sound. It's, like I said, I'm on a virtual machine, so it normally normally would not be quite this this bad. I'm not sure exactly how much RAM I gave this virtual machine and how much processor power I gave it. You can in any case, yeah, this is Dorico. Do I dare trying to have it actually play back? Let's see what happens. Okay, so that's not the end of the world. I mean, it's not really usable, but it's getting there. Um, and let's see what else. Engrave mode works fine. Yes. We gotta do the tour, of course. Open up the properties panel. Now, I don't know exactly why this text is blurry in here. That's one thing that I've noticed. I'm sure there's probably some sort of something that I can install, like one of those libraries that I don't know about, that would fix this, but yeah. Go ahead and hide the stem. Oh, I guess you can't hide the stem on a beamed note. Or can't. Whoa, what was that? Well, I missed that. Is it behind the stem? Oh, yeah. Okay, we can hide the stem. Cool. Let's have it show an accidental. Let's have it show it in round brackets. Yeah, great. We can do write mode. And you can hear there's a little bit of a delay between when I press the key shortcut and when it actually moves the note. Like, listen. So it's not the greatest, but again, I'm pretty sure that performance is better on actual hardware. And there's still a little bit of that. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but it definitely moves it into the more usable territory, I'd say, at that point. Setup mode works just fine. Have a little tour here. We can go ahead and add. Let's add let's add this little saxophone quartet. Sure. And there we go. Oh, interesting. We don't have any. All right. I wonder. Oh, I guess we have hide empty stabs turned on. Okay. Well, let's go to layout options, and it's under vertical spacing, right? Staff visibility. never apply. Chug, 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 chug. Close. And it looks like we've got ourselves a saxophone quartet. And some lovely little formatting stuff here. I'm pretty sure this is what it would do on Windows 2. I've not noticed any actual differences in the way the program runs, other than that it just runs a little bit slower. I wonder if there are like some system breaks in there or something like that. Like wait for next. We have all the flags. System breaks. Let's see. Yes. We do have system breaks. Do we have frame breaks? Or, yes. Okay. Yeah, we've got frame breaks, and it almost certainly says to wait for next system. So that's what's going on there. All right. What else? What else can I show you? Print mode works just fine. You can make PDFs. You can, I presume you can print to a printer. I don't have any printers installed on this virtual machine. But let's go ahead and, yeah, so now the way Wine deals with file dialogues is you've got your actual drive right here, and here's your Linux file system. So you, if you'd want to, depending on where you want to put things, get your home drive right here, your user right there, and here are your main files. Now, what Wine does, which is nice and handy, is this little documents thing is actually this documents thing. So it integrates them like that. You can see, yep. So I usually go ahead and use this documents thing as like where I'm gonna keep my Dorico files. You can put them in Dorico projects, or you can make another folder for them. But anyways, let's just throw them in Dorico projects for right now. Oh, whoa! Where have we gone? Where have we gone? Did I click OK? Let's see. Let's go ahead and hide all this. Documents. Dorico projects. No, it's not there. I must have. Something bad by accident. Yeah, and here are your fake, your C drive and so forth. Anyways, okay. That's okay. Great. Dorico projects. File name options. I guess that's actually probably what it was already set to, but yeah, we can go ahead and export this. And you see it's already exporting PDF. Yeah, I don't remember it taking this long, but I guess it's not surprising. It takes a little bit longer with everything. Go ahead and chug through this for us. And go ahead and open that with Document Viewer. And there you have it. That is a nice, pretty PDF fit page. There you go. Well, pretty in the sense that it is exactly what it should look like based on the Dorico file. Not pretty in too many other senses. Okay, I guess the only other thing to show is play mode. Play mode works just fine. The one thing with play mode that is not so great, it's not actually a play mode thing, it is the VST window on Note Performer. You can see it does not actually show what it should show. It works, it assigns voices just right, so you see we've got these properly assigned to we've got saxophones 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. We've got voice here, I presume, and this is the piano. I recognize the colors, and yeah, so like this is going to be volume at 100, but you could like go up to 127 or down to 0 or whatever. Is it 128? I don't know. If you double click on it, it returns it back to default, so that works. If we pan this a little bit, what happens if we, okay, and then, interesting. Oh, great, okay, yeah, so it goes back to default if you double click it. I don't know what these are. I bet you one of these is solo and one of these is mute or something. And then this is where you would pick other instruments, but like, oh, this is not really feasible. So yeah, this doesn't work. So you kind of just got to go with the defaults. But they're there, and they assigns everything correctly. So as long as you don't need to change instruments, you should be good to go. Yeah, so that is everything that I can think of. Sorry to be showing such an abomination to you right now, but I guess we're pretty used to it. Yeah, so that's Dorico running on Linux. It takes a little bit to install. It's not that hard. It's just lots of steps, and some of them take a little while. But once you get it, it runs. It functions the way it's supposed to. Everything just takes a little bit longer. Not quite as long as I'm showing you right now, depending on what kind of computer you're running. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty decent. I've done some actual work on Dorico on Linux for actual clients, so I know it works. I know it's usable. I would love to see some performance improvements before I made the full switch to it, but I'm pretty happy with it. And I think it's a pretty good starting place. So yeah, that's Dorico and Linux. If you've got any questions, post them in the forum or on Facebook or on this YouTube video, wherever, and I will do my best to get some answers. All right, and with that, enjoy.